What's up, you guys? Welcome to The Imagination. I'm your host, Emma, and today I am so honored to have back on the show for a second time Masonic Ritual Abuse Victim, Survivor, and Whistleblower, intuitive empath, entrepreneur, public speaker, and improv comedian, biofeedback facilitator and educator, clean farming and nature lover, and an incredible hero coming forward to advocate for whistleblower and survivor protection and safety, and to do everything in her power to facilitate the change she wishes to see in the world, Allison Adams. A little bit about Allison in case you're new here, missed her first riveting episode, or if you need a little recap. Long before tragedy found her, Allison had already forged a remarkable path. Diagnosed with juvenile myoclonic epilepsy as a child, she refused to be defined by it. For 45 years, she mastered her condition through unwavering commitment to clean food, restorative sleep, mindfulness, and inner sovereignty. This wasn't mere management, it was her superpower, a disciplined daily practice that kept her grounded and vibrant. An outsider by choice and circumstance, she lived openly and trustingly, but that openness was brutally exploited. In April 2020, on the patio of an acquaintance named Marty, a James Beard-nominated chef connected to a network that was targeting her through sophisticated grooming tactics, Allison was drugged with at least 4 substances. She lost 10 harrowing hours to ritualistic horror, including violations, strangulation, hazing, and terror orchestrated by a sophisticated, organized network. Yet even in that altered state, her decades of biofeedback training activated. While her body appeared unconscious, her consciousness remained hyper-aware. Piece by piece, Allison gracefully reconstructed her truth and healing, the same way she managed her epilepsy growing up. Allison's awakening turned personal devastation into fierce purpose. She's watched brave whistleblowers step forward, only to face targeting, financial desperation, illness, and silencing. These stories ignited a righteous anger in Allison. She realized disclosure isn't just dramatic testimonies, it is everyday survivors like her speaking out, and it demands community protection. There is no witness protection for these crimes. Society often blames victims, dismisses their stories as too outrageous, or changes the channel because the darkness is uncomfortable to listen to. Allison challenges us to do something, to share, like, comment, donate $5 instead of buying a coffee, offer a skill, send encouragement. In her own words, do what you can, but do something. And her own story reveals how insidious and organized the darkness is. Allison wasn't born into a multi-generational cult family, an important truth that shows anyone can be hunted and lured. Yet she refuses silence. Her testimony is unique yet unifying, detailing not only the horror, but her pain of remembering, healing protocols drawn from a lifetime of self-mastery, and her battle cry for community accountability. She demands we stop losing children through these corrupt systems, that we surround survivors, amplify their voices, and create real support so no one faces this alone. Allison embodies the rarest heroism, quiet, relentless, and transformative. She proves survival is not passive endurance, but active rising, speaking, organizing, and loving the vulnerable more fiercely because she knows the cost. Rooted in inner discipline, awareness, and unyielding courage, she has become a force of justice and healing. Even while still at risk, her light shines undimmed. Allison continues to shine as a beacon of hope, proving that courage multiplied by truth can overcome any darkness. The world is forever brighter, stronger, and more compassionate because she chose to rise and speak. Her legacy is not one of victimhood, but of triumphant, unbreakable light that invites every soul to join her in building a safer, more awakened world. So you guys, without further ado, please help me in welcoming back today's guest of honor, survivor and thriver, survivor advocate, walking miracle, courageous, passionate purveyor of truth, voice for the voiceless, and the brightest light in the darkness, the one, the only, Allison Adams. Allison, it is an honor to have you back today. Thank you so much for joining us for this part 2.
Thank you so much. That was so nice. Like a couple times I felt my lip quiver. That was beautiful. And you are beautiful. Thank you for giving me a voice. And thank you for having me last time and this time. And the experience was so good. Like you were so kind and gracious. And I just so appreciate you, Emma. Thank you.
And I appreciate you too. It's such an honor to get to work with you and to get to share this. And it's honestly a story and a testimony and events that we all need to know about, not just because of what it entailed, but because the important topic of what I mentioned in the intro, that this can happen to anybody. And people
can happen to anybody. And if you're warned, maybe if you hear this story, it will be, you'll see the red flag before you have to go through it. And that's what I hope. Also to protect your children. These people are targeting our children in the most innocent way, you know, the people that you trust with your children. And so we just have to be louder than they are. We have to expose them. We have to share their story because it's so unbelievable. You're right. We don't want to talk about this. This is a horrible subject. And if you have free time and you have your phone on, you know, do you want to hear this? I'd like to make it easier for everybody. That I want to try to make it more lighthearted to hear, but it's still very difficult to hear. It's horrible, but everybody needs to hear it. There's not anybody that is immune to what's happening.
Right. And that's one of the biggest reasons why we all need to care. I think a lot of people like to separate it from themselves. They like to push it that it only happens way over here. It's not around me. I don't need to worry about
it.
Somebody else is going to take care of it. Somebody's going to step in and help. Somebody else is doing something. And when you realize that not only is it not far from you, it's happening in your community, but that nobody's doing anything about it. Like we all need to step up. And if we all contribute just a little bit, I know so many people are busy. So many people don't have a ton of money, a ton of time. A lot of people are very stressed themselves or going through hardships. It doesn't mean that we all have to step up and give every single bit of ourselves to this in order to make a difference. It can be so simple. And if we all were to just contribute something little, whether that is a comment on a video or a share, whether that's $5, whether that's a skill that they can contribute, all the stuff that we talked about last time. If more people did that, we would have so many more solutions to this and people wouldn't have to go through it alone. There'd be more awareness and there'd be an acceptance of this being a pandemic, something that is happening all around us. And it's not something that any of us can afford to ignore anymore, especially the whistleblowers that we're asking, that these same people are asking to come forward and tell, you know, like, what are we doing to help the people that are stepping forward? We're just going back to work and not giving our extra $5 or not helping share the video that they courageously came forward to do. Like, it's just, it could be so easy for all of us to help make a big dent in this. But I think,
I think we're starting to. It's exciting, but I think it's also people. It's not out of busyness or carelessness. Like they think there's places to go. Like there's things, there's homes. Oh, well, you just go to a home and there's nowhere to go. There's not. You know, they think that there might be charitable organizations that are already helping, but these they might give you a meal. They might, you know, you might have a phone call. There might be a counselor you can talk to once or twice, but there's the victim of having a Masonic ritual abuse. You literally have to abandon your whole life. You have to leave. There's no safe place. You can't go to a family member. You can't go to the police. You can't go anywhere. That's the worst part of this crime. Everybody you've been taught to trust is involved in it. And it's speaking out usually gets you in more trouble than less.
100%. And that's such a good point. The authorities, that's another solution people think exists. We'll just go to the police, go to the FBI, they'll take care of it. And it's these people are these organizations don't exist to help solve crime. They exist to help cover it up, you know, and it's so
and not all of them are malicious. There are dark people in there too, but really they just haven't been trained to understand. And so when these victims start telling their story, they sound so outrageous. You know, how could that happen? And you and I were talking to truly tell this story. It takes hours. And would they even have the time to listen all the way through? And do they have the discernment or the skill to validate it? And then let's say you do find a police officer that does validate it. It won't go past that. There's nothing really else you can do. You know, that victim will still be in her same or his same place.
And one of the most difficult things is just like how your story illustrates. It's not just like one person that you can point the finger at and it's like, this person did everything. It's like a group of people. They're all in like different facets of society. They have different economic statuses. They're all like very different. And that's also like a whole thing for for a police officer to go do background checks and look at all the evidence for every single person and figure out all the different things. Like, it's just a lot of work for one of these cases. And it's very difficult.
It needs to be a special group. You know, we are the Masonic Ritual Abuse group. And that following needs to have a way to get this person out into safety and to listen. So I don't know how it works. I know we don't have it in place now. I would like to help any way that I possibly can. I have extra time I can donate. So, you know, I think we just keep having these conversations and we keep highlighting there's a void missing and let's see what we can do. And I want to say your viewers have been amazing. I was shocked. I told after the video went live, I think I told you ahead of time, I can't look. Like, I was so scared. I was literally, but first I started watching, I've had 15 people buy me coffee and write me notes. And each one has been so special. I truly will consider each one a friend. We have sat down, we have had coffee together, and several of those people wrote me a note. And I might even start saying it, like, most of them said, I believe you, Allison. And I can't even tell you how, I didn't even know how good that would make me feel. Cried every time, you know, I heard your story. I believe you. You know, I'm rooting for you. Like, let's get to safety. Let's hope, you know, this continues to get out and resources are available.
And I just want to shout out everybody that does listen. This is the best audience on the internet. I don't care. Like, there's platforms way bigger than mine that will have like a survivor on here and there. And the comments are there's not even as many supportive comments on those videos of like big platforms as there are on this one. And it just means so much to me. And thank you guys for stepping up and for helping and caring. You know, I know money's hard to come by these days, or time. And there was people that were offering housing, people that were offering skills in the comments, people that were donating and following her on social media and sharing the video and hyping it. And just thank you guys. You guys do that every single guest for every survivor and every witness that comes on here. And it makes me happy, especially when it's somebody's first time. And you guys just surround them with so much love and compassion. I didn't have to delete one single comment off Allison's video. They were all
Everybody was so nice. And informative. It was so interesting to me on the comments of the video to where maybe one person was explaining part of my story. Oh, no, this is what she's saying because this is part of it. And it was so interesting the way the information came together where I loved there was a doctor. It might just be his screen name. I don't know his name. It was a doctor or something, but he said, no, the most important screen in this is the fight, flight, fawn, freeze screen. And thank you for calling that out, because once I had the vocabulary for that, it helped me so much. So it was interesting to see how your audience took to different portions of what I said last time. And to me, they just validated it and backed me up. I was expecting at least someone to victim shame me. That's like, I think, part, you know, she asked for it, and, you know, oh, that was stupid. Why did you do that? And what's this? God, it was just the opposite. I'm sure they're out there. I'm not going to say it wouldn't ever happen, but everybody was so loving and respectful and kind. It was a great experience. And thank you all for making it a good experience.
And everybody's going to be so happy to see you back on again. So I'm really happy that, this was a good experience and that you want to continue speaking out. And you seem lighter today, even. You have this like lightness about you. And I don't know if it's because you're wearing this bright color or because your background, but you seem like less like a weight lifted. Also,
yes, yeah, I definitely, I'm kind of laughing. I'm like, the last one I was in my dungeon, and even before we went on, I couldn't even prepare for it. I know that sounds weird, but I just literally had to pretend like I wasn't doing it and then just show up and say it. Like, it was hard to get the words out. You can see today I didn't have that again. So I'm glad I look lighter, and I do.
Yeah, you were like ready to go whenever.
Inside me.
Messaging me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to talk a little bit more about your story. We got a lot of the hardest parts over last time, but we still have a little bit more to go today. But today we're going to be really focused on solutions and on how the after effects of this type of trauma happen. It doesn't just end just because an event ends. There's a trail of trauma that follows, not just from healing, but through targeting and things like that come about when somebody is either speaking out or didn't give in to sort of joining the network and being a part of what the people are doing. When you outcast yourself from the circle of crime, they're not very happy about it, knowing that and that you could be a threat to what they're doing. And so I'll hand it off to you to maybe pick up where we left off last time, and we can kind of continue down this journey today.
Thank you. Yeah. They don't like poking the bear, and it's scary. But again, I'm scared of them still, the people. But I think what happened for me was, 6 years of hiding, 6 years of living in fear. My life stopped, and I finally got mad. And I just was, it was when Madison passed away. And that was my final, like, I'm talking out. Like I guess not talking became more uncomfortable than talking. And that's when I finally was like, all right, we're going to talk about this. We're going to get this out. But the interesting thing about the memories coming back, they don't, like, for 6 months afterwards, I don't even think I recalled it very often. Your body really will protect you. And the memories didn't come back, I guess, until I was emotionally safe enough to handle them. And they come back in little bitty baby steps. Like, one will lead to another. And then sometimes I actually would have a memory of it and then block that memory for another few months until it can come out. And so it's really has taken me years to get to be able to know what happened to me. But I do want to just talk about the evilness of the organizations, that I don't know why they targeted me. And I know I came across a really bad person, and he's the one that started it. And they think differently than we do. We talked last time on how you have to somehow agree to being a victim. They have different rules. But I just want to state here that I do not consent to being a victim. Me or my children, leave us alone. You do not have our consent. Get out. And so just wanted to state that before I started. You don't have my authority. We want to be set free out of your organization. I don't want any part of it. But before I do that, or just I'm ready to jump in unless you have any questions. I want to share what I think, almost like the chronological of my missing time. Okay. Kind of what I call it, a soul memory, but it's just my inner knowing of what has kind of come up, and I'll share. After the drugging, the last time I kind of got up that far, where I passed out on the couch. And the last thing Marty said was, Candace and Marcelo are on their way. So what I think happened, at some point, the crowd started gathering. I know, so that's 3 people. I think the head perpetrator, the mastermind that I call him, he showed up. And then I know there was another, I know nothing. This is actually, for the record, I guess nobody's been charged with the crime. And this is all just a story that I'm sharing. But it was 2 husbands and wife there. So it was one restaurant owner, Candace and Marcelo. There was another husband and wife that was a restaurant owner that arrived. The mastermind arrived, and at least 3 recruits or 3 people that joined in to the, there's a picture of how the story started was me befriending somebody in exercise class and getting to be very good friends with her. And then her husband, she was feeding all the information to the husband, and the husband came after me. And that's how the whole thing started.
And I commented real quick, it's interesting how they have like the eyes wide shut mask like behind them too. It looks insidious.
Yeah. And that guy was bad dude from college. Very bad. And I think he showed up once he was part of the thing when I was there. So I think what was happening, the first stage of it, I woke up and everybody started showing and up. And I think that guy was one of the last to show up. And I think this was just like hazing, making me uncomfortable. Violence didn't start until he got there. And I think when he walked in, and again, these are just my thoughts, but I think he immediately caused physical trauma. I know that night he strangled me quite a bit. And I think immediately I was afraid of him. And I kind of will think, well, what would I do? I was drugged. I don't have a memory, but I know myself. And I know what would I have done in that situation. And the hardest part of this to get past is there were 10 people in a room watching, and they were there for one reason, my discomfort. They were there to hurt me. And they were all business people, community leaders, owners of this. And so once you think, okay, there's going to be a bad guy if I ever do, but I can call out if there's somebody close, somebody will help me. No, not only will no one help you, but they were there for your pain. That's the hardest part. And it's kind of, as I'm healing, that's been the hardest, is my fear of people, my fear of that situation. And I think, but anyway, so I was in a room full of people looking for someone to help me, and nobody was helping me. I think I was teased so maybe, I don't know when I found out I was there to be part of this ritual. I don't really know. I think beforehand, before the ritual, it would have been taunting me, am I going to live through it? Maybe they told me I was going to die some horrible way. Maybe I think I was taunted with knives. You're going to be hurt with knives. You're going to be hurt this way. I think, and I've had some, I think I was, so the first part, I think, was just the terror building of, oh my gosh, oh shit, how do I get myself out of this? That's real. I think I was taken out. So the ritual happened outside this house. The hazing was in the living room, where I woke up and saw the people there to hurt me and had to figure that out. But I think there were 2 traumatic events, probably a lot of traumatic events, but one was what was happening inside. the fear rising. And I think I might have been taken to a room and possibly raped at that point, back and forth. And I think the head perpetrator wanted me dead because I'd called him out to his wife and told his wife that she needed to take action against him. He had a bone to pick with me, and that had to have been really scary for me when I saw him show up. And then the person that caught me, his name was Marty. I think he fought to protect me during the night from him killing me because he wanted me to come back and have this happen again. He wanted, sometimes when these victims, it's repeat, and he wanted me on repeat. So I think in some way he was my captor, but he was also a helper because that other person was worse than this person. There were strange dynamics going on throughout the night. And then I think there was 3 people that they could have been victims too. I've already I've identified them that I don't think, I think it could have been like, are you a friend or a foe? And there was a mixture, I guess is what I'm trying to say, while I was there. But we always hear of like rituals, like we don't really know. I think these people are cowards. They drug most of their victims. And then the ritual that took place outside, I think the strangulation was so bad that I think I know I blacked out, but I could have crossed over past. Within an inch of my life had it pretty bad. Also, one thing physically that happened is my collarbone. It has a name, and I don't know what the name is. I should know it. A medical name of a dislocated collarbone. And I went later to physical therapy because I don't like it. And, I look in the mirror and it shows what I see is that night. I want my body back. I want everything back. I don't want any imprint of that night on me. So I went to a physical therapist afterwards. And he asked me, he said, how did you get your injury? And I said, I don't know. I have no idea. And he said, first I got the face where he was just like, that makes no sense. And he said, the injury that you have is only extreme high impact. He goes, I only see it in car accidents or sports, football trauma, something to that nature. He says, it didn't make, he thought I was, and I said, I don't know how I got it. I don't remember it, but I know. And especially I know from him, it had to have been really bad. And that was, I think, part of it. And, so anyways, those are kind of just to put a little bit of groundwork, I think. So the ceremony happened outside. And then back in, I think there was time where they really tried to make it look to fool me. So I think they must have redressed me, put my hair like it was before, put my body exactly in the same position that it was before, like everything. Give me the pain medicines they pumped me up with, so that I could wake up and think, oh, I just slept through the night. But anyways, I just kind of wanted to kind of outline it a little bit on what took place.
That's just terrifying. And the fact that they could even think that you'd wake up and not be startled at all. The fact that you went to somebody's home in anticipation of just having a chill night, having some hors d'oeuvres, hanging out with somebody new. And then all of a sudden, the next thing that you remember, you're waking up on somebody's couch, knowing that you didn't go there to go to sleep. You didn't go there to spend the night. You went there just to go hang out for a little bit.
Yeah.
The fact that they
max. I wasn't going to be there. Mm-hmm.
It's like, how could they expect anyways that even if they put everything back into place that you would have no questions? You just wake up and be like, oh, must have fallen asleep. I'm just going to go home and live my life. And, that had to have been so terrifying.
I think that's how they get away with it. Like, I think so many people think, well, that was weird, but they don't question deeper. I think there are so many more victims that this is actually kind of normal. a different story. You can hear my dog. She's by there, and there's a kitten outside. My dog's like, whoa, we got to take action. But just to tell another story, that this is key in getting the story out. These people do this to us on a regular basis, and they think they're magic with these pills, that they can just, ha, 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 this is so funny, she got roofied. But I had a friend of mine, this wasn't in this town, but I do know of the town that I live in, 2 people besides myself that have been drugged on the same strip where the other people are. But I had a friend, a very good friend, and her husband and her went out socially with a couple and had drinks, and this was, just fun. And neither one, my husband or my friend, remember getting home. And never in their life have they ever not remembered getting home. And both of them were just like, well, that was weird. And when I heard the story, I was like, y'all were drugged, who were those people? And so anyways, I just think it happens a lot more than most people know. And that's kind of why I'm speaking out, because they thought I wouldn't know. They thought I would just wake up and go, that was weird.
And I want to share too, you sent some photos of a shocking element of your testimony and a side effect of your trauma that you shared last time, of you have stick straight hair, and all of a sudden, for I think you said 4 years, your hair went curly, and you have photo evidence of that you took, thankfully. But I mean, that's like extreme to go from stick straight to this. That's a lot.
I don't know if you can see how straight my hair is like now. There are no trindles around me. I don't know if you can kind of see. This was 1.5 years, and this is when it was starting to grow in. And you can see that my hair was completely different, like night and day. It was like I used to get perms back in the 80s. It was just like a perm grew into my hair. And in fact, the first 6 months was crazy because I just looked like the wild professor. I had straight hair everywhere else, and then I just would have like 1 inch or 2 of curly. And I just walked around. It took me a while to figure it out until it finally started growing out. I'm like, my hair's curly now. Like, what in the world? That's so strange. So yeah, it grew all the way, like completely curly for like 4 years. And I had a healing session that I think changed it with a practitioner. And it was a specific session that we did to release trauma. And it was, I think, successful. And my hair started growing straight again.
And you said basically, like, it was 4 years. The curls didn't just kind of like fade away. They like literally grew out. Like you could see where your hair was straight again. And almost like if you had dyed your hair and let it grow out, the curls like grew out as your hair did.
You like literally could see it. It's actually, I still have them. It's about right there on my growing out part.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it literally would be like growing a perm out. You could completely see a line of delineation, straight hair, curly hair.
And so you had this curly hair, you had this brute force injury on your collarbone, shoulder-ish area. What other side effects did you have after that, after the medication wore off and you were able to feel everything?
At first, I don't know that I recognized anything. When the medication wore off, I immediately ran for my life. I left town for 2.5 months. And the strange, I don't know how to explain it, but I was running for my life, but I didn't remember running for my life. Like the flight, freeze, fawn, what's the other one? Fight, flight, freeze. I just have wanted to run and never felt safe anywhere. It's been the personality that I had before this is completely gone. When this happens to you, it changes your whole life. So since that time, it's I've had to get to know myself. It's just been a very slow process that a lot, I never had panic attacks before. That never happened. I was never uncomfortable to go to someone's house, things like that I have a hard time with. Meeting a new person is very hard. Any type. I try to stick to my old friends. I was fine meeting people before this. So yeah.
So scary to think all of that. And then just the fact that it almost like put you in like a dissociative state from even like your own body, where you were kind of like felt the side effects of it through your anxiety and through the, like you said, personality change, but had like very little context for why and just shoved it all down.
Exactly. And I think when I talk about, I want to speak for the children don't have enough life experience to understand this is new behavior. This is a new fear. Where did this new fear come from? That just becomes part of their reality, and they don't know to say, I need safety, or I'm feeling scared, or maybe they're criticized for those, outbursts that, where is it coming from? We don't know, It's almost like there's a monster that's hiding inside you. There's so much terror, like to feel it, to curl your hair and to completely change. It doesn't go away. They're bad people. And whatever, the more terror that you feel, the more it feeds their accomplishment, and it's just a sick organization that they don't belong on this planet. The evil needs to be eradicated.
Yes. And so what happened after all of this?
So I ran, and I came back, and I guess I would like to start talking about, like, I just slowly started going. The first healer I went to, or the first kind of impactful disclosure of, wow, there's something more to it. It would have been under 6 months. Maybe it was like 3 months after the event. And I felt a constant in my throat feeling of needing to cry. That lump in the throat feeling. So I was like, God, how do I get rid of this throat feeling? And so I went to a sacral cranial therapist. I'd seen her once before. Her name was Molly. She's been nationally recognized. She's has had shows about her. And I was only going because I'm like, I wasn't going about the rape to let that out. It was, again, very early, and I consciously didn't have it in my head yet. I had suppressed it. So I went to see Molly, and I laid down, and I'm like, can you get rid of this lump in my throat? Like, this is really bad. And like a good healer, she's kind of looking at the big picture and not just this. And I don't fully remember exactly how it went down, but she scanned my body, and her eyes were like, she said, what happened to you? And I was like, what do you mean? I did have this one experience, a few months ago. It was kind of bad. She looked at me and she said, I work with some of the worst rape victims ever. And she said, you are right with them. She said, what kind of trauma did you go through? And at the time, I couldn't answer her because I didn't understand the trauma yet. That was my first experience. And in fact, that at that visit, her office was shared with other doctors. And it was like a high rise. It had a beautiful view of the city. She actually left the room and went and gave everybody a heads up that it could be a loud session. Like, for me, the trauma could come out loudly, crying, screaming. She didn't know. But she even warned her coworkers that I've got a patient that has been through a lot. So that was one. I also had one. I have a longtime acupuncturist that I go to. I adore the man. He's from Japan. I call him Dr. Nobu, but it's Dr. Hiroshima Nobu Wago. But he has been my health practitioner. He's basically my, what do you call them? General practitioners. I don't go to a doctor. I go to Nobu. So I went to him because it's my normal visits. He keeps me in check and balanced. And I wasn't going again for this reason, but it was my first visit since it happened. And he stopped me and he said, "What happened?" He felt the trauma too. And at the time, again, I wasn't ready to, I didn't know what was happening. But the words that came out, I still remember. And it's kind of like, where did those words come from? But I just said, my friend's husband was really bad and he upset me really a lot, is what I told him. Those were the words that came out. So I knew where it came from, but I didn't really know how to say it at the same time. I told you about the physical therapist. It's Brian, saying what happened. That was. And then the other one was a woman approached me. Her name was Stacia. Thank you, Stacia. Angel. I didn't seek her out, but she came up to me and said, "Hey," I don't even remember. It was in my darkest freeze. And so what happened after for years, I just froze. I didn't interact. I didn't leave my house. I didn't even participate in life at all. Like I was completely shut down. I didn't feel. And Stacia and I were kind of like, I love growing vegetables. So kind of we ended up in the same circle of people that like to grow vegetables. And we kind of knew of each other through farming. And Stacia came up and she said, "Hey, I'm going to give you a free session." And I was like, "Okay, what do you do?" And she said, "I release trauma." And I was like, enough said, let's do it. I don't need to hear anything else. And this was pretty farther into my I knew what I'd been through at that point. I knew the trauma that I had stored. And at this point I just trusted her blindly. And the trauma was interesting because I didn't want to go to the traditional therapy route because I don't want to say it over and over and over again. And I don't want to talk about it because it sucks and it hurts all over again. Yeah. And it's so hard. Who do you talk to? If I could find somebody that specializes in this, but if I just go to someone, rape victim, like they don't understand the network. They don't understand there's somebody chasing me. Like I'm running for my life. Like the violation of that night was terrible, but it's so much bigger than that. Like the violation goes to a big picture and most people can't understand the entire picture. So Stacia just said, she came up and said, "I'm going to give you a free session. I am a trauma specialist." And we did them in my house. It was very back roots. She came over and so what I liked about it, we didn't have to talk about it. We would kind of get a theme. Like we had probably 8 sessions and we would kind of have a theme. Maybe my voice hurt for a long time, the lump in my throat. The sessions with Molly, I went to 2 with Molly. It was kind of too soon for me to heal because I didn't know what I was healing from yet. And so I hadn't matured. I think if I went back to her now would be the time. At the time, it was too early. But my work with Stacia, I liked it because I didn't have to sit there and talk about everything. Her work was almost like Ricky. Like we had a little bit of a talk and we kind of have a goal of what we're going to go in and help today. But then I would be able to go into meditation. That's easy. And everything was visual and kind of through Reiki. And it was done on a different plane than the consciousness. And that was right up my alley. And it was what I liked because I don't want to touch that trauma, but I have to release it. But it took us 8 sessions and they were like 2 or 3 hour sessions. They were pretty big to finally get to the trauma. And we just, I don't know if this is even going to make sense, but we just kind of opened the door a little bit. Like we just kind of identified it a little bit in my body. And that was enough. And that was the session that I think stopped my hair from being curly, where my straight hair started to come back. Wow. It was with her that changed that physically released the trauma and my hair started coming back straight again.
That's amazing. Did you make any changes in your everyday life aside from seeking out help? Were there things that helped you recover from this that you were doing at home, whether it was dietary, going out and getting sunshine? Were there things that you can recall like changing where you're like, I need this to feel better for my mental health?
Believe it or not, like everything, I was so healthy before and I loved hiking and nature and that was the life. They took that away from me. And actually, ever since then, I had to, I would wake up and every day I was gone and, you know, I'm going to work out. Fitness was a part of my life every day. What change? You don't know God. I never fully understood God until I fully understood evil. And once the evil changed my relationship with God, and it changed my values. It changed everything. What's important in life. I've just been doing so much inner work since it happened in a different way, where my inner work might have taken place on a hike. It's honestly me at home, you know, working in my garden, solitude. I guess that's it. Like I've just been solitude. And maybe before it happened, I wasn't comfortable with my own company. And then now that it happened, I am not just comfortable, but more, it's more, I don't know what the word is, more confident in who I am.
As you're going through all of this, you're reckoning with side effects. You don't necessarily know what the cause is. You're moving into having these soul memories where you're piecing things together. You're seeking out and also organically finding healers who are helping you little steps along the way and helping you validate what you went through by seeing it in you.
Absolutely.
As all of this is happening, were you experiencing targeting or ongoing attacks? And was that sort of like another layer that you were noticing after you never returned and didn't go back to these parties? Did you also have attacks as you're moving towards getting away from all of that?
Yeah. I think I'm terrified, and this is actually just kind of coming to my consciousness. My son was, I believe, targeted as well as me. I know from the information, you know, it all started from hours and hours alone in the woods, and from the lady Betsy. And I do remember when I was still talking to Betsy, her and her husband, my son worked an hour and a half away from me. And I remember her asking me over and over again, now, where does he work? Where does he work? And again, at the time, I didn't think anything of it. And then I remember her telling me, oh, we went in and we saw where he worked. We went in there. And so that was a memory that I just recently had. There's a lot more to that, but the story in the middle of it. But I just now said, I remember her telling me that Paul went into my son's place of work. And, you know, I'm afraid that my son got pulled into the organization. Is the fear. Yes, and the attacks of IT. I get hacked all the time. I don't feel safe with my IT. I went out to eat one time and I was with somebody. I wasn't driving and I ordered a beer and I feel like it was tainted with in a completely different restaurant. Of course, I don't go back to that one. What other things can I say? I feel like my house has been broken into. Those are all that are coming to my mind right now.
And what about, I mean, you're still, but then especially, you know, you went on sort of a 2-month sabbatical in a way where you just up and left and got away from everything. But eventually you had to come back to where all this happened. Have you ran into any perpetrators? Have you seen any of them? Has there been any type of contact, or what's
Great question? Yes. And it's fascinating. Each time I've run into some of them I know consciously because it was led up to the thing, but some people I'd never met before in my life. And when I run into them, I'm like, the soul memory of when I run into them is kind of interesting. And I'll give you an example, because have you ever been somewhere and you are out in a different place and you run into an old friend, but it's out of context,
Yes.
and you instantly see that the recognition doesn't come from the brain. It comes from your heart, your solar plexus. You see that person and your body will have a reaction before your brain even has time to think. You'll be like, oh boy, oh my God, this is great. A good recognition. Or it could be an ex-boyfriend. Oh my God, holy crap. I guess you'd know where that would be. But the reaction comes first before the knowing is what I'm trying to explain. And so when I see these people, I have that same reaction without the knowing. So I have the familiarity, but I don't know where it comes from. So it's usually not in the moment that I see them that I know, but usually I figure it out. I'm like, oh, that's what that look was about. Or I can give you some good examples of seeing people. Which one do you want to hear about?
And just for context too, you had mentioned there was like 10 to 12 people in that room and you knew of a few of them, but there were people there that you did not know. And that's sort of what you're talking about with, when you see them in public, you might not know how but you know.
Exactly.
But
yeah.
What about some of the main people that we talked about, that friend that you spent so much time with, or her husband, or Marty? Have you seen or ran into any of them, or the 2 pizza shop owners?
The pizza shop owner, that's been interesting. Yes, I've seen the woman twice. And again, we were best friends and she was always trying to get me to get a drink, and she had similar sensitivities. We would engage in personal details in our life. And the first time I saw her, it was still in that phase where I was still cloudy and it actually all hadn't pieced together. Immediately I quit. I never went back to the restaurant, or immediately when I ran, I immediately stopped all association. It was so strange because it's part of you is conscious and part of you isn't. It's you go back and forth. I had a friend come in town from Texas, a dear friend, a childhood friend, that she's probably, she's a doctor. She's a very successful surgeon in Texas. And she came into town and I tried to take her to a different restaurant, kind of like, oh, okay, that used to be my favorite, but all of my restaurants were gone. All my friend circles, again, you're starting fresh. The restaurant I was taking her to was closed. And she was like, well, how about this restaurant? It was the pizza restaurant. And I just kind of was like, okay, let's go with my friend. I'm going to go in there. And I went in. I'm glad I did now, but I went in and saw her immediately. And what it is, they look at me and like their face will, like, that's not a normal reaction. When you see somebody, you go, oh, hey, yeah, how you doing? But every single time I see one of these perpetrators, that first second gives them away because they are so shocked to see me and so uncomfortable. And so I saw her and I was with my friend and I said, we're here to eat. And she just completely lost her composure. We got to the table and sat down and we ate. And I was kind of like, hey, she's the owner. Isn't it kind of cool to, when you go into a restaurant with your friend, that you're friends with the owner, that's kind of a fun feeling, like, yeah, I'm one of the gang, And she just acted like we were strangers. She did not talk to me. She just acted like she didn't even know me. There was no recognition whatsoever. After that first, the face looked like she saw a ghost when I walked in there. And then I saw her again a few years later when I was much more savvy and I had taken much more steps to healing. And also all the pictures were kind of there. I saw her at the grocery store in town. And when you see, it's the strangest experience when I see these predators in public, but that's the only way I can say it, because when I see them, my higher self reacts so unusual. Sometimes you hear about like people that have an experience like in the woods with a bear or something like that, and they say everything got quiet, like silence. Your senses change when you come in contact with this, and my soul knows exactly what happened. I don't have the active memory of it, but the imprint of it, I have that memory. So I saw her at the grocery store, and I had that sensation of everything else went silent. And I'm not by nature, this is of all of the reflexes, fight has been my last one to appear. Freeze, fawn, run, like everything. I haven't been a fighter, but when I saw her in the grocery store, I had the adrenaline rush of I just want to kick your ass. Like I was overcome with just, I wanted to kick her ass. And it wasn't in my head like, I don't like this woman because she did this. It was a rage that was bigger than I was. And I even saw her, and I took my phone out and I kind of pretended I wasn't filming, but I was trying to make her uncomfortable. And it worked. And she was at the pharmacy counter, like standing at the pharmacy counter. And there was a pharmacy sign like right next to it. And she kind of wedged herself like away from me behind the sign. And anyways, that's the 2 times I've seen her. I've seen my ex-friend that I hiked with, that I still to this day don't think she was in on it actively. I think she was a victim and maybe mind control herself, but she would be like a goody two shoes, where she thinks she's serving, this is her, I don't know, but I don't think she actively knew what she was doing. But probably the other ones, I saw here's a good story. The other restaurant owners that I feel like were there that night. And this is a feeling, I don't know, but I have run into, it is kind of interesting when I run into them, which emotion comes out. Sometimes I'll see someone and I want to kick their ass, but I'm not kidding. I've seen somebody that I've actually feel like helped me. It's a range of friend or foe that comes out. There's the foes from that night. And then I think maybe there was a night where there was somebody that maybe we tried to help each other. It was a different relationship. It was a very powerful relationship because we were both trying to survive, and so I think, again, it was a major impactful relationship moment that my soul remembers, but I don't remember it. But then I have recognition. It's kind of weird, but that's how it is running into these people. And it sucks to kind of be at Tractor Supply and I'm in my own little world, and then to get jolted away again and be confronted. Each situation like that will put me out for days, and here we go. It's a whole cycle that is part of why I got to get out of Dodge and get out of here.
Which brings us to our next point, is helping survivors and victims of these types of abuse, because I don't think, how we were saying, a lot of people don't realize what it takes to just uproot and leave. You're not just like finding a new apartment somewhere and, transferring funds, and it's just like this easy thing. Like, you literally have to leave everything. You leave all your resources behind. A lot of survivors leave inheritances and, financial dependencies that they had on people. You leave family, all the people who could have helped you and who have always helped you in your life. Friends, that were there for you, that you thought were there for you, that were actually working against you. And a lot of people have to start all over again. That's why there's so much homelessness that ends up happening with victims of this. And so I wanted you to talk a little bit about the struggles that you and other survivors go through, whistleblowers, and what we need to do as a society to step up and help support you guys, some ideas that you've had and ways that we can come together and try to solve this within our own community.
I love it. I love this conversation, and I'd love to be part of not just getting myself to safety, but helping others get to safety is the end result that I want to do. And I will donate my time, 20 hours a week, whatever we can do to get this. And it's a great conversation that I want to keep moving forward. And your viewers were amazing. Once again, I want to thank them. There was somebody in the comment and they were like, hey, I'm an IT specialist. I can volunteer that. Yes, that's exactly what we need. And there was even a lady from Arizona that was like, I have a place, and oh my God, can we connect the place to the victim? And that's huge. It's the biggest thing for us is we need to stop the attack. And what is the attack? We have to get new environments. We have to relocate. And you got to go to a new town. You got to start your entire life over again. I can't do it here. I can't even do it 30 miles down. And there's not anybody that can do it for me. It's me. And so we got to get safe places. We've got to help our victims relocate into a safe place so they can heal. That's just step one. And to relocate, I mean, I've looked into it. It's hard nowadays. I've kind of judged, okay, 3 months out of town, how much is that going to cost me? Well, it's like $10,000, about to relocate yourself. And I think if you're relocating, it takes about 6 months to be able to get the balls rolling. Okay, I've got a job. I've got this. Okay, I'm in my zone now, but it's not easy to just up and leave. And then the fear of, with the technology, we're just taking them with us, because we're being stalked by our technology. And so we need those resources, those people. I can get on those where I do my own IP address, but I don't know what I'm doing. And I also know I'm still being stalked, and I haven't been able to stop it yet. So I need somebody that knows how to stop that. And when I leave, I need somebody that will help me get clean, non-trackable devices. So.
Right, 100%. And those are all such good points. And I mean, you think about, like you were saying, even if somebody did just move from one house and then they go down the street a couple miles into somewhere else that they think, nobody's going to find me, they still have to run into perpetrators and experience that destabilization for, like you said, days on end, where you're shaken up for days wondering, and then you have to, live your life looking over your shoulder, wondering if you're going to run into anybody, if somebody's going to stalk you or break into your house, or, follow you, or worse, if you
exactly
end up finding you. And it's really scary. So yeah, and it is very expensive to move. It's not just, like I said, transferring apartments and it's like an easy thing.
Yeah.
Like if you're moving and relocating, you have to pay for all of your stuff to be shipped. If you have a vehicle, you need that shipped. If you have children or a family, you have to figure all that out.
Deposits down, it's like it costs a lot. The moving, it would just be a U-Haul for me. I'd be like gone, but
it's a lot. Yeah,
it's a lot. Yeah, and I've taken off. But I think when I took off, I didn't do it methodically. I was running for my life. It actually happened twice. So right after the event, and then I had a trigger about a year afterwards that I did another bout. So I've done it, but I need to do it permanently.
Right. And so these are all really good points. And hopefully, people listening can sort of, like how we said last time, think about things that are in their own life that they can contribute, whether it is just financially, whether it's time, whether it's a connection, whether it's an extra room that they have in their home, or somebody that they know that can help rent out, a space.
Yeah.
Safe.
Like some people have cottage houses or like a spare Airbnb that they didn't do anything with. People have extra space. And that would be amazing if we could connect that extra space to this movement and help. And, liking this video, sharing the video, like, hey, listen to this, that's amazing. The buy me a coffee again. Thank you so much. And just the well wishes, like, hey, good luck. I believe you. That's amazing. So, and thank you for all of that. So, yeah.
And I'm going to share Allison's buy me a coffee. And thank you guys so much for chipping in and for supporting her. I'm so grateful for that. And I love that you guys stepped up like right away. She messaged me like the next day and she's like, oh my gosh, a bunch of people sent me a coffee. It's so nice of them. And she was just so emotional and like was not expecting that. And it just filled her with so much joy to the point where she was like almost in tears because of it. Just so grateful and just validated, seeing these comments of like, I believe you and thank you for sharing your story. Like that changes somebody's life when they've stepped up to do this and risked everything for it.
It was everything. And I think that was my first validation. I think that waking up and seeing those coffees with those women, and then there were some guys too. Thank you. That was one of those pivotal moment in time. I think when the first time I heard, I believe you, and you're going to be okay. And thank you for speaking out. And we appreciate that. That was amazing. So thank you guys.
And her link for this, I'm going to have in the show notes, but it's buymeacoffee.com/Allison with 2 L's 1776. Buymeacoffee.com/Allison 1776. So I'll have that in the show notes. And then you can also connect with Allison on X as well. Probably the best place to get a hold of you, aside from if you guys want to email me and I can forward it to Allison. Otherwise, she has her own X account and you guys can connect with her there as well and DM her personally and support her. And again, just a super free and easy way that you guys can step up and help.
Absolutely.
If you're short
a nice comment, a share, that's everything. A like. And thank you, Emma.
Thank you.
We're gonna solve this. We're gonna get this done.
It just takes starting
We're moving it forward, right?
Yes. Yeah. And so is there anything else that you wanted to talk about today or any final words that you wanted to say to listeners before we close up for this time?
No, I think that's it. Just again, gratitude. Bless you all. Thank you. Thank you, Emma.
Thank you. And thank you. I second what Allison said. Thank you guys so much on the other side of the screen. Thank you guys so much just for embracing every single guest that comes on here and for making them feel at home and making them feel proud of coming forward instead of wanting to shut up again or, feel like they're being abused by coming forward. It's so nice to have open and, just really, really empathetic and compassionate responses to people who are speaking out. It can do so much more than what you believe with changing somebody's life and making them feel proud of what they did instead of, ashamed or invalidated, which is so sad whenever that happens. And it does happen to survivors, so thank you guys so much. And if you guys go in the show notes, like I said, please donate a coffee to Allison or 10. Go follow her on X and share this episode, like it, engage with it. If you guys want to see Allison back on, which I think we'll definitely be able to do a part 3 at some point, leave your questions below. That way we know what topics we want to cover and what questions.
I'd love it.
You guys. I would too. It'd be really fun.
Anytime. I'll give you weekly updates. Absolutely.
And if you guys can contribute something directly to her, you can reach out to me and I'll send the message to her, like I said, or go DM her on X.
Yep.
But any way that you guys can help with, her phone and computer and getting that debugged of stalkers and people trying to hack. And then also locations. If any of you guys want to step up and have an extra space, please reach out. And so with that being said, you guys, thank you so much for listening. God bless you all. And we will see you next time.
Bye.